selective repeat is we will be just resending the packet which has not reached to the destination, or the packet for which the sender has received a negative acknowledgement or no acknowledgement. That particular packet will only be resent to the destination, and remaining all packets will not be touched at all. So that is the concept of selective repeat. Why we are going for the selective repeat is because we will be able to save the bandwidth. Otherwise, if you go for the go back in, then what we do, we unnecessarily repeat the packets which have already been received by the receiver. Correct? We repeat all n packets from where we have not received the acknowledgement, and that is going to consume the bandwidth unnecessarily. Correct? And so we have got some new version, and that is my selective repeat. So let's go back to our client and server programs. This is as I have already explained you about the Java socket programming in my video of go back N. Here I will be explaining you about the code of selective repeat. Fine. So as we have seen this server socket. Now what does this server socket? This is the API to create a server socket, right? And at which port we are creating this server socket? This server socket is created at port 8011. Correct. Now this particular server socket API includes the socket creation and and wait call. Fine. So what we do over here, the socket is already created, it is binded, and now at this accept call we are waiting for the connection. Right, at the accept call we are waiting for the connection, and objects of data input stream and data output stream. Now this particular data input stream and data output stream is used for placing your data on the input and output of the network streams, right? This is used for the network communication, and this particular objects are used to put your data on the network stream, right? And that's the reason we are creating the objects of data input stream and data output stream. Fine. Now let's go to the client code now. Now over here what I do is, now first I created the ADDR object which is of inet address with the name of the local host, right? So I created this ADDR object, and then a new socket is created to this particular address. Now why we are using localhost? Because here I am having my client and server both running at the same system, right? Now instead of this, suppose you want to execute the client and server at different machines, then you need to give the IP address of the server over here. So with the IP address of the server we will be creating the inet address. Fine. Okay, so let me continue with the explanation of this localhost. So if you want to create a socket at your server end, you will be giving the IP address of the server over here. Fine. And then we will be creating the socket for the server at the port number of 8011. Correct. As we have created the objects of data output stream and data output stream both at server end, similarly we will be creating this object at client end also for the communication across the network. Fine. So here once I create, I say a new socket, so my request will go to the server code and it will be accepted at server end. Correct. And once this client and server connection is accepted, the communication can go on. Right. Now how we are doing the communication? We are doing the communication with write and read APIs. Fine. So my server is writing a data. Now which data my server is writing? It is writing a data of this array A. Correct. So it is writing dos dot write y. Correct. So one by one. So till that, first it is sending the length, right? First it is going to send the length of which length of the data for which it is going to write, right? So it is doing dos dot write, and then up to that length it is writing the data one by one. So it is my a of I which is getting returned on the network stream. This content of array A is written one by one, or it is put one by one on my data output stream for network communication. Fine. So now let's look at the client end. So what's happening at the client end? First it is going to read the length, करेक्ट, क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपने देखा है कि हमने पहले लेंथ को राइट किया है, right? So at the client end we are reading the length first, correct? So how many number of frames are expected? So p number of frames are expected, and let us have the for loop running for the p length of the for a p length of a frames, right? And then we are reading one by one and storing it into the array v of I, correct? And then we are printing this v of I, correct? Now as I have already told you, here we are simulating the functionality of go go back in, right? What we are doing, we are simulating the functionality of one go back in. So somewhere we need to show that we have not received the packet, correct? Somewhere we have to show that we have not received the packet, correct? So हम क्या करेंगे, we by our mean, right, we ourselves will change the content of one of the packet. So over here I am changing the content of the frame number 5. You can see here I am putting the frame number 5 value as -1, करेक्ट? सो -1 करके मैंने फ्रेम नंबर 5 का वैल्यू चेंज किया है, एंड व्हाट वी आर डूइंग हियर, आई एम गोइंग टू सेंड द एक्नॉलेजमेंट. I am I am what I'm doing, I'm just seeing that receive the frame is. So here I am printing my received frames, right? तो कौन से कितने frames print हो जाएंगे? Whatever I have received from 0 to p, so those many number of frames are printed over here. Now as we know that deliberately we have changed the content of frame number 5 to -1. Why we have done this deliberation? To simulate the functionality of selective repeat, because we want to show the error in the content, and then only that error in yes packet will be resent by the sender, correct? Now what we are doing, we over here we are analyzing the packets, we are analyzing the contents of the packets, right? So here what we have seen is, suppose the packet content is -1, right? That means that it is a negative act, correct? So whenever the content packet is -1, I am supposed to request the sender to retransmit the packet, करेक्ट? तो अभी देखो आप यहाँ पे कि जब मेरा v of I is going to be -1, I am requesting to retransmit the packet number, that particular packet number again, correct? So my n is going to be I, and what I am doing, out dot write n, correct? So one by I'm writing this, what I'm generally doing here, I'm writing every packet on my output stream, right? I'm writing every packet on my output stream, and over here I'm going to read that packet, correct? So what I have done here I have written that this particular packet is -1, so I'm writing that packet on my output stream. We can see here my curly brace is starting from here and ending over here. So whenever I received a negative packet, right, it means that either my packet is damaged, right, or my content of the frame has been erased out, or some error has introduced in the that particular frame, and I am supposed to request my sender to resend the packet to me, correct? So here I once I receive the after analyzing all packets, if I received any of the packet as -1, I will be requesting the sender to resend that particular packet. That's the reason I'm saying out dot write, and what I'm saying in this, request to retransmit that particular packet. So at server end I can read that number over here, and I will be just writing that single packet again, just writing that single packet again and flushing out the data. So once I have written this packet, it will be again read at a client end, and it will say that received frame number this as a retransmitted frame, correct? And then we will quit from client and server. Why are we doing this? We are doing this just for the simulation of my client server code. Understood all of you? So let's go for the execution of this code, right? So as I already said, as it is a client server programming, I need to open two command prompts, right? So at one end I will be executing client code, at another end I will be executing the server code. So first I will display the content of this particular folder. So you can see here I have this client.java code and server.java code for selective repeat. So let me compile this code. So I am having Java C server.java. Correct. So my server is compiled. Similarly, I will compile the client code also. So fine. So I am compiling this client.java. So let's see the content of the folder. Now this folder is having two Java files and two class files, which are the executable files. Correct. So I am running here Java, and as I already said, I am supposed to execute the server first, because the server has to be established initially and it should be waiting for the client call. So I'm executing my server first. So let's see Java server. So now what it says, it has said that waiting for the connection. Now come to the client code and now execute this client, correct? So I have said that Java client, right? Now look at this, right? What it has said, see, how many number of, actually first, to which server it is connected, localhost 127.0.0.1, right? How many number of frames it is expected to receive? 8, right? Now these many frames are sent by a sender. While analyzing the content of all the frames, so received frame is 30, then 40, 50, 60, 70, and this particular frame, that -1 frame, is corrupted. You can see here. Now for a simulation purpose, we have deliberately changed the content of this particular frame, so that we can show the functionality of selective repeat. So now what I have done here, this is my corrupted frame, the -1 is my corrupted frame, right? So what I'm doing, request to retransmit the packet number 6 again, right? Now that request is received by the server. So the number of packets sent is 8, and this particular, now this packet number 6 is resent again by the server, and then it is said it is received at a client end, and so received frame is 80 successfully, and my client is quitting. So this is all about my selective repeat functionality implementation in Java code.